Hey, I'm Alex Ratcliffe from Board Game Co., and today I'm reviewing Explorers from Ravensburger. Explorers is a 1 to 4 player roll and write experience in which players are, well, exploring this map. You're going to be drawing over these cards over here to be able to draw on certain terrains with the goal of collecting various things to satisfy certain goals. This will make sense more as I actually teach you how this plays. I'm going to teach you the basic game first, and then I'll teach you through some of the variants or extra things you can add over here. But the basic idea is you're going to start the game by grabbing any 4 tiles over here from this giant stack of tiles, although to be clear, there's actually multiples. There's 4 copies of each tile over here. I believe this number is 1 through 8 if I'm not mistaken. So you have 8 different tiles. You're going to assemble them into this grid however you want, oriented in whichever way you want over there, so you have a unique map. All the players are going to grab their matching tiles and assemble the exact same map, so you're all playing on a level playing field. From there, you're going to mark off your first starting village. That's going to be the one that's closest to the center. So you're going to look around, figure out what's close to the center. That's your starting point on the board, and then players can go ahead and start the game by each player can choose their own sequence of 3 dots on the same terrain to go ahead and mark off. In my case, I like gems personally, so it's hard. There are hard decisions to be made. I'm just going to go ahead and go down here. I'm going to go 1, 2, and 3 like so. So I've marked off 3 X's on that stone terrain. Then from there, we'll go ahead and shuffle these up over here, and we're going to remove one of them from the round. There's going to be 4 rounds of play. I'm going to remove one, and then we're going to have the rest over here, and then you're going to go ahead and start flipping things. So I'll go ahead and flip this, and let's pretend I'm start player right now. I get to choose one of these 2 terrains that I want to draw on, and given the fact that I kind of, actually I don't mind using I don't mind using the stone. So I'm going to use the stone over here, which means I'm going to continue with a horse. I'm going to mark off a horse, another spot, and then a gem. So that gem over here means I can mark off a gem off here. I'll teach you how everything scores shortly. But the horse is an in-game thing. There's scoring and then in-game benefits. The in-game benefit in this case is I get to mark off any one adjacent X anywhere from where I am. In this case, I want to be able to jump around a little bit more easily, and I think, I can already get to the water here. I can already get there. I can't get here as easily, but I can if... You know what? I think I'm going to go for it. I'm going to mark off... I don't know, man. This is hard. This is tough. What do I do over here? The horse may not have been the best idea in the end, but we're going to stick with it. I'll just go ahead and mark this down over here, and it is what it is. So, that's my spot over there. The other players can now choose 3 in the other terrain, the one I did not choose. All the other players can choose this other terrain, or they can choose 2 X's in the terrain I chose. So there's a slight disadvantage for not having the full axes that the starting player has. From there, we're going to have the other player go. We're going to have them choose, so now it's the other player's turn. And so we're just going to pick whichever side is oriented towards me as the one I can have. We'll pretend that they chose the other side. So over here, right now, I can either choose 2 in the water, because that's the side they chose, or I can choose 3 in that. Given the current state, I'm going to go ahead and mark off 3 in that, going 1, 2, 3, marking off a key. I'm going to circle a key. I now have a key. Excellent, we're making good progress. It's going to be back to my turn over here. They already did their marks, and I get to choose now. And I think I don't mind getting the... Can I get a fish? I can get fish. I can get a carrot. Can I get a carrot easily? Yeah, I can do it. I'm going to go ahead and take this over here. So I'm going to mark this off here. And I'm going to go ahead and mark off 1, 2, 3. I got an apple. We'll mark that off. I'm just going to play through a full round and we'll teach it to you. So this one, again, I'm going to have them. I'm going to flip it around over here and have them choose whichever side. So we're going to flip it over and I get this side. So we flipped it over and I get the stone over here. So again, given my options on the table, I can try to figure out exactly how to navigate around the board over here. Should we get another gem? I could get another gem. It's not the worst to get another gem, but I want to make sure I have access to a carrot as well. I think that's a little tricky with the current state over here. Getting a carrot would be carrot, carrot, carrot. I think I'll go ahead and go down 1, 2, 3 on the stone there, which means I'm going to get another gem up there. Other players going to go ahead and go. Did I choose that one? I can't remember. I chose the first one. I chose the third one. I did not choose this one. So I'm going to choose the next one over here. Ooh, this is a double-sided one. So I could choose 2 different terrain types, which makes me a little more flexibility. I think in this case, getting, honestly, any of these would be fine. I think I'm going to go ahead and choose these 2 terrain types here. Does that work for me? It gives me the apple. No, I already have the apple. I don't need an apple. I need a fish. You know what? We're going to go ahead and go like, so many decisions here. So many decisions. I think we'll go ahead and go this route, because I'm going to need that water at some point. Although maybe not. I need the carrot. I need the carrot. So we're going to go ahead and go this way. Let's just go this way. We'll call it a day. I'm going to go ahead and mark off. So I'm going to mark off 1 over here. That's going to be useful there, because I got the carrot. I got the stone. The stone's going to allow me to mark off one more elsewhere. So I'm going to mark off this horse over here, which because I use the horse, I can mark off the fish over here. So I'm going to mark that off because I got the fish. And I got one more spot I can go on. I don't know if there's any that are particularly useful, but I'll go ahead and mark off, this one here, working my way. You know what? Honestly, I don't even need that. I can go ahead and mark this one directly because I already have the adjacency, giving me another gem. Great. They're going to choose, and let's go ahead and have them choose this side. So I'm going to flip, which means I get another stone. Not what I wanted, unfortunately. Not what I wanted at all. This is where it gets tricky because I didn't want the stone. I could get a gem out of it. The waters doesn't help me right now, so I'm going to go with the gem. I'm just going to hope there's sand in the next tile. We'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and use the stone. I'm going to go down here. 1, 2, 3, getting another gem. And then we're going to go ahead and flip this over. And this one I get to choose on. Perfect. Great. I'm going to choose this side, which will give me 3 sand. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Actually, I don't even need to do that because I could just go, because I can use both terrain types. I'm like fudging this up with my finger here. I can go over there like so, and there. And then I got that. I still have one more sand I can use elsewhere. I got my carrot, which is important. I can use one more sand elsewhere. I don't think any of them are that impactful to my current strategy. I could go down here. I want to get towards one of these chests over here, but I didn't actually get towards any of the temple areas. So we'll just go ahead and mark off. None of them are amazingly impactful. We'll just go ahead and mark one off over there. And that's it. That's going to be a full round. Now you get to the end of the round. Now you're going to go ahead and score. So you're going to go for a few things. I didn't get all the various elements of the game, but I'll walk you through everything, and then you play this across 4 rounds. So let's go through a few things one at a time. In this area over here, I got all 3, so I scored 10 points. In each round, you score 2, 5, or 10 for getting those apples, carrots, and fish. Over here, at the end of the game, you're going to score points for how you surrounded each of the different villages. There's a village here, a village here, a village here, and a village here. And depending if you surrounded 1, 2, 3, or 4 spaces, you'll score a different number of points. So right now, I didn't touch any of these 3, although I'd get closer throughout the game. But this one, I score 1. So I get 1 over there, which means 3 points over here if it were the end of the game, but we don't score this till the end of the game. This you're going to score every round. You're going to get an accelerating number of points. So right now, I got 4 points for getting 4 gems, but every round that accelerates. If I get 4 more gems this round, I would get 8 points, and it keeps accelerating as you get the gems, making them a lot of fun. Keys are very helpful because you need keys to enter a temple. Each key, once you cross it off, you're able to enter a temple if you're adjacent to one. So let's pretend we had gone over here, like so. I can go into this temple, at which point I would get the 12 points. The other players will mark it off, and the next players can get 10, then 8, then 6. You have to adjust a bit in a 2 or 3 player game as far as removing some of those numbers, but generally the first person to get to each temple gets more points. And then lastly up here, we have lastly, I covered all those things. Horses you saw, these 3 you saw. Lastly, you have these maps over here. When you get one of those maps, when you cross one of those off, you can cross it off later to use the other terrain, and you can go ahead and do 4 spots instead of 3, giving you a little more flexibility. So maps give you that flexibility when you really need certain terrains and it's not working your way. You're going to repeat that across 4 rounds of play, continuously expanding on the map in Explorers across infinitely variable maps, not actually infinite, but near infinitely variable maps, as you try to figure out the best way to gather the various things, to score the various criteria over here, and to just get as many points as possible across 4 rounds of play. That's the first thing. The next thing you have, though, is if we go ahead and slide this in over here, let's go ahead and slide this. We have a different map set up, which is where you can go ahead and adjust this however you want as you play through it. Over here, you can see that this has changed. In fact, let's go ahead and show them side to side. In this map over here, this tile over here, you're going to be trying to get sets each round. In this tile, you're trying to get all 4 apples in round 2, all 3 carrots in round 3, and all 4 fish in round 4. Round 1, you score nothing. You get 1, 4, 9, or 16 points. Now, it's important to note all the things I'm showing you are completely mixed and matched. You could play however you want with any of the changes that I'm about to show you here. That's going to be one of the scoring variables that you have over there. This village scoring is going to be giving you points for the worst village you scored. So if you scored, if your worst village has 3 X's, you'll get 26 points. So you're trying to be evenly distributed amongst these villages. You can get up to 40 points if all of your villages are fully filled over there. Over here, you're going to get points based on the gems, but you're going to start by getting negative points for not collecting gems, then ramp your way up to a middle point, and then all the way up to these positive points, getting chunks of points over there. So again, same idea that you want to get as many gems as possible, but slight different way to the way it scores. On this frame over here, because even the frame is different, the frame you're going to, instead of getting more points for scoring a temple first, when you explore a temple, you get extra X's that you can mark off on the board. So if you're the first player to explore this temple, you'll earn 3 extra X's which you can use to navigate around the board, giving you that flexibility. And then lastly, those are the changes you have just in general game state. Lastly, this giant stack of tiles, behind every single tile is a scoring variant. You can add 1, 2, or 3 of these to your game state. So for example, we can go ahead and take these and say these are the scoring variants we have in play for this game, and that's going to give you give the players ways to get extra points, either just simply getting points or alternatively competing for points. So for example, this key thing is the first player to get all 4 keys gets 10 points. Second player gets 3, gets 8, then 6, then 4. Over here, you're going to get points for the number of full sets of, the various vegetables and ingredients you got. So if you get all 4 sets, you get 15 points. Over here, you're going to get points for all your numbers you get in diagonal. You're going to look at your largest diagonal across the map and score points at the end of the game for those. And these are just tons and tons of different scoring objectives. Every single one is a different slight adjustment to the various scoring objectives. This one's a fun one. Get 16 points if you don't collect a single gem. You might have to actively avoid those, but you don't have to chase the gems. Instead, you can simply get 16 points for avoiding them. It gives you a lot to think about as far as how you approach them. But that's basically Explorers. The general idea is every single round you're going to be going through 4 rounds of play. In each round you're going to be going through, I think, 7 turns, because you remove 1 tile, 7 turns in the game, and you're going to be 7 turns per round. Each round you're going to be marking off number of X's on the board as you try to gather all the things you need across a unique map that is the same between players but different game to game. Be mindful of your scoring goals if you play with them, and I highly recommend playing with them, and of course the slight adjustments to the various map that you choose to engage in. That is Explorers. This brings us to a review, starting off with ease of play. Game is very easy to teach, very easy to play, very easy to get up and running. Plays in around 30 to 45 minutes, depending on, players, what you're doing, all that stuff. But 30 to 45 minutes, I'd say, is a normal game. As far as what the box says, what does the box say? Always intrigued. 20 minutes. The box is 20 minutes. I don't think it's a 20-minute game. 20 minutes seems way too fast. I think 30 minutes is a lot more likely. In any case, that said, past that, as far as what I like, don't like, and can see others not liking, starting off with what I like over here, which is the general gameplay itself is just solid. It does a good job as far as giving you that sense of exploration on the map as you draw different X's. It gives you that sense of accomplishment and growth as you try to figure out the exact map you're on and the best way to approach the map, because the map is going to change how you approach it. The goals are going to be how you change your approach it. I love the goals. The goals are easily my favorite part of the game as far as giving you just something different to consider every single game. And the game, I believe, says 1 to 3 goals. Honestly, I wouldn't even care making that number as high as 5. The goals to me give me the biggest challenge as far as how to mentally re-examine each puzzle. You combine the asymmetric map, you combine the goals that are different game to game, you combine the small adjustments as far as what you do with these, although honestly, these are less important to me. Flipping these over here, we have, when you flip this one, that's a big change. Trying to get all of those in a single round, I like that adjustment and the way those play. The villages as well, decent enough of a change as far as how you approach it. The gems kind of don't really change the way I approach the game personally, so I don't know if I semantically care that much, although I do enjoy getting extra X's from the temples as opposed to points. I just find more exploration is more fun. Both will net to points in the at the end of the day, but I just like exploration more as I go through it. But overall, the game gives you different ways to approach it, which is the main thing. The board keeps you variable, the game keeps you variable, the goals keep you variable. Everything about the game just keeps it variable within a solid puzzle of how to approach it. A satisfying puzzle. Flip a tile, draw some X's. Flip a tile, draw some X's. Rinse and repeat. And then here are all the reasons to continue to re-examine the game as you dive back into it. As far as what I don't like in the game, the core gameplay loop is fairly repetitive. Those things I just mentioned, they do all mix it up, and I am very glad that those things are there. If not for those things, this game would be, to me, fairly forgettable. It'd be, hey, this is fun, and now you move on. The variability keeps it interesting, but the core gameplay loop is kind of just drawing X on a board as you try to gather and explore things. It does its job, it does what it needs to do, but it's not overly exciting. There's not a lot of in-game things. It's more about, hey, I'm just going to explore the map and try to gather the best order of things along the way. It's fairly procedural as, flip and draw games go, roll and write, flip and draw, the whole verb and verb category. It does its job well, but I would say the main thing that has me compelled to continue going into it is not the core gameplay loop, which I find procedural, but rather I would say the variability that forced me to re-examine how I engage with that core gameplay loop. As far as things I can see others not liking, I'd say that the end game can devolve into the things you were hoping to get done but didn't. This is a very common thing in many games, many roll-and-writes in particular as well, where you kind of plan towards, okay, great, I can get this, I can get this, I can get that, but then you get to the end of the game, and guess what? Time eventually does run out in all games, and you get that last round, and you're like, well, I'm not getting this, I'm not getting that, I'm not going to be able to completely surround my villages. You have to figure out all the things you thought you would strive for and didn't. And that's where you try to replay, try to re-examine, try to mentally adjust exactly how far you can push and what is a reasonable amount to try to achieve versus something you're just going to find yourself disappointed in. As far as final thoughts on Explorers, I overall enjoy this game. Like I said already, the core gameplay loop is a drop repetitive. The goals, the board, the changes all keep that interesting. It keeps the gameplay it gives you a reason to continue to dive back into it, despite the actual gameplay itself being, I think, a little, at least to me, I guess, given with the context and the weight of all the roll and write games out there, all the verb and verb games, I think what Explorers does is not that engaging. Explorers is procedural, it's very gateway friendly, it's a good game. I recommend it, because I'm saying if you're looking for a good intro roll and write game, or again, flip and write game, if you're looking for an intro game in that category, I think Explorers is very solid. To me, the main thing that's worth pointing out is the high degree of variability that gives you that reason to continue engage with a game that would otherwise not stand out in a crowd. For me, it's a 3.5 out of 5. It's good combined with variability, gives me that reason to recommend it. As far as other game recommendations, speaking of recommendations, first of all, Trails of Tucana. The game does feel fairly similar to Trails of Tucana. I can't pinpoint why exactly, but because the game is actually vastly different in actual gameplay. It could just be the terrain aspect, the flipping terrain and trying to draw on those, but it does give me similar vibes to Trails of Tucana in terms of the reasons to explore, and yet the variability of how you're forced to approach the puzzle. Very different games, but definitely similar vibes. I would say also the game feels similar to the Guild of Merchant Explorers in its own sense of exploration across 4 rounds of play as you go through it. Again, very different games, but does give me similar vibes. And then lastly, if you're looking for something that gives you that same sense of accomplishment, of gathering everything across those 4 rounds of play, but to me a far more compelling one, Cartographers from Thunderworks Games, I think does what this game is doing with the variability, with different ways to approach it, with all the goals. Not as much variability in the map setup. I'd say Explorers knocks it out of the park in terms of variability of the map setup, but Cartographers would be another one that I recommend. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, I hope you have a good one.